Once, long ago, in a land far away, there was a farmhouse. And the farmhouse sat on farmland, rich farmland, where everything you could want ever would grow. And the farm was owned by a woman, but not just a woman. This woman farmer was also a mother, for she had 2 sons. Jan, his job was to do everything. Jan had to do the ploughing. He had to do the sowing, he had to do the reaping, he had to decorate the house, he had to look after the pigsty and look after the animals. Oh, Jan had to do everything. But his brother Jack, lazy Jack could just lie around all day and be served tea by his mother. For these 2 brothers looked almost like peas in a pod, but they were so different in their attitudes to the world and in the way their mother treated them. So Jan had to do all the work, and the worst job, believe it or not, was actually to collect water from the well. And one day, Jan went to the well, and the water was lower down than he was used to. And as he put the bucket into the water and the bucket filled with water and became heavy, it pulled him over. And down into the well he went. Down into the water. But when he realized what was happening, he was no longer in the water of the well. Instead, he was on dry land. But this land was different to the land of his home. This land was bright. This land was colourful. The grass was greener than in his homeland. The bushes were brighter than in his homeland, for he had landed in the country of the fair folk. Of course, he didn't know that. He looked at the trees. As he looked at the trees, he noticed that one of them was bearing fruit, but not apples or oranges or pears. The fruit this tree bore was books. And as he stared at it, Jan heard the tree say, "Oh, please, please help me. The weight of the words is so heavy. Please pick some of my fruit." And Jan said, "Your fruit? But your fruit is books." And the tree said, "I know. Please pluck a book and read it to relieve me of some of the weight of the words." So Jan plucked a book and he sat down to read it. It was an encyclopedia. Well, actually, it was a volume from an encyclopedia. It was a volume from S to T. So he started at the River Saale, and then he kept reading. And as he read, the sun went over the sky, and still he had only reached what was nearly the end at terminus. And as the moon rose, he found himself reading by moonlight, but still he kept going until he dove down into the final entry of tunnel. And as he finished the volume, the sun rose again, and the tree said, "Oh, thank you. I feel so much lighter now. And you, young man, will want to be going home. So follow the path. But remember, young man, remember all that you have learned by reading that volume." So Jan set off. Down the path he went, trying to remember everything from the River Saale to terminus to tunnel. And as he went down the path, he found the path divided into two. But before he could think which way to go, he noticed, standing next to the path, there was a sheep. Now, Jan, of course, had read an encyclopedia volume from S to T, which meant that he had read all about shearing and sheep, and shearing sheep. And as he looked at the sheep, he realised that this poor sheep can't have been sheared for at least 5 years, and he knew a sheep should be sheared at least once a year. And he looked at the sheep and he said, "Are you all right, brother sheep?" And the sheep said, "Oh, please, sir, I have not been sheared for at least 5 years. Please, please, will you shear me?" Well, of course, Jan had read the encyclopedia and knew all about shearing, and so he sheared the sheep. Snip, 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 snip. Snip, 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 snip. And as he sheared the sheep, snow fell on the land. Snow soft and white and gentle, like the wool falling from the sheep. And when the sheep had been shorn, it said, "Oh, thank you so much, sir. Now, young man, you will want to find your way home. Follow the left-hand path, and you will surely find your way." So Jan left the sheep, having said goodbye because he was a very polite boy, and off he went, following the left path. So Jan walked along the path. And as he walked along the path, he saw coming in the opposite direction, there was an old woman. And she looked so tired. She looked so dusty. And as Jan went up to her, he said to her, "Oh, mother, are you all right?" And the old woman said to Jan, "Oh, young man, I am so hot, so tired, and so dusty. Further along the path, there is a well. Please, would you go and fetch me some water to drink?" Of course, Jan wanted to help. Jan left the old woman, and he walked along, and he saw a hill, and up on top of the hill, there was a well. Jan walked up to the well, and luckily there was a bucket there at the well. So Jan took the bucket and drew water for the old woman. But not just a little bit of water enough for her to drink. He drew a whole heavy bucket of water for her. And then off he went down the hill back to the old woman. Now remember, he had filled the bucket with water. So yes, he gave her some to drink, but he also washed her hands. He washed her face, and he even washed the old woman's feet. And when he had finished helping her, he said to her, "Mother, are you feeling better?" And she said, "Oh, yes, my boy. I feel so much better. Thank you for all you have done for me. But now surely you must want to go home. And to go home, you simply go the way you came. You saw the well, return to it." And she walked off, leaving Jan to go back towards the well. But as she left, she called back after Jan, "You shall get your reward." Jan walked back to the hill and the well. He walked up the hill and he looked into the well, but this time he didn't put the bucket into the well. This time he sat on the edge of the well, put his legs inside the well and dropped into the water. Down, 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 down he went. Back in Jan's homeland, the snow had fallen. The bushes were covered in snow, the ground was covered in snow, and snow hung from every corner of the house. And waiting for her son to come back with water from the well was the mother. And in the time that her son had taken, the snow had fallen and the snow was covering the land. And then, to her amazement, out of the well, her son Jan appeared. And she said to him, "Where have you been?" And Jan said, "Oh, I've been at the bottom of the well." And as he spoke, from his lips, pearls fell. And his mother said, "Where did they come from?" And so Jan told her the story of going down through the well to another land, the land of the fair folk, and of meeting the old woman, and of coming back through the well. His mother thought carefully. Oh yes, if Jan could speak pearls, then Jack could speak pearls too, and then she would be richer than she had ever imagined. She called her son, "Jack, Jack, come here." And lazy Jack appeared and said, "Oh, mother, what do you want?" And she said, "Jump down the well." He said, "What?" She said, "Jump down the well." And she told him the story that Jan had told her about going down the well and finding the tree and reading the book and shearing the sheep and finding the old woman and the old woman saying, "You will get your reward." So Jack, most reluctantly, followed his brother's journey, jumped down the well and disappeared. Down, down, down he went, down until he landed just as his brother had, in the land of the fair folk, where the grass was greener than at home, where the bushes were brighter, and where the trees, oh, the trees. Jack looked, and there was a tree hung with fruit, but not oranges or apples or pears, but books. The tree started to speak. "Oh, please, young man, help me. The weight of the words is so heavy." But before he could finish, Jack said, "Oh, just get on with it and tell me to take a book." "Oh," said the tree, "then take a book and read it." So Jack plucked a book. And yes, it was an encyclopedia. Yes, it was a volume from an encyclopedia. Yes, it was the volume S to T. So Jack sat down and started to read about the River Saale. But he really wasn't that interested. The sun went high in the sky, and Jack hardly read anything. And then the moon came up, and as the moon went through the sky, Jack just gave up and fell asleep. So when the sun came up the next morning and Jack woke up, he said to the tree, "Come on now, tell me what to do, tell me to take the path." And the tree said, "But I'm still so heavy with the weight of words. You didn't read the book." And Jack said, "None of that matters, just tell me to take the path." So the tree said, "Then take the path. But you will have difficulty remembering the knowledge that you did not take in while you did not read." So Jack set off down the path. As he set off down the path, he came to a fork in the path, one path going left, the other going right, and standing near the path there was a sheep. A sheep that looked as if it hadn't been sheared for more than 5 years, but of course Jack didn't know that because he hadn't read the book. And the sheep said, "Please, sir, shear me." And Jack thought, "Well, I didn't read the bit about shearing, what do you do?" So he just went snip, snip and just cut off a tiny bit of the sheep's wool. And he said, "There, that'll do." And the poor sheep was left with so much wool. The sheep said, "Please, will you not take more?" And Jack said, "I haven't got time, just tell me where to go." And the sheep said, "Then take the path to the left, and you will find your way home." But as he said it, it didn't snow in the land of the fair folk or in the land of his home. Instead, up above in the land of his home, the sky went dark and the land was covered by shadow. But Jack, of course, just kept walking. And he walked, expecting to meet the old lady. And he walked, and he walked, and he walked, and he walked. But no old lady was along the path. Eventually, as he was walking, he heard the sound of horses' hooves. And coming towards him, there was not an old lady, there was a beautiful woman. A beautiful woman riding a beautiful horse. And Jack looked at her and said, "Where's the old woman then?" And the beautiful woman said, "I know nothing of an old woman, young man, but it is such a hot day. Up ahead there is a well. Could you go and fetch me some water from the well so I can drink?" And Jack said, "Why should I help you? Why can't you get down off your fine horse and go and get some water for yourself?" And she said, "Well, it's a long way down from the horse, and I am wearing a fine dress. It would be kind of you just to fetch me enough water to drink." And Jack said, "Well, all right then." So off he went to find the well. Jack walked down the path. Further he went until he came to a hill. And he walked up the hill to the well, just as his brother had. And there was the bucket. And Jack took the bucket. But unlike Jan, who had filled the bucket with water, Jack just put enough water in the bottom of the bucket to wet the woman's lips. And then he went down the hill to go and find the woman again. And there she was, waiting patiently on her beautiful horse for some water. Jack gave her some water from the bucket, but there was only a little bit in the bottom, just enough to wet her lips. And when she said, "Could you give some to my horse as well?" There was none left in the bucket for the horse to drink. But Jack still looked her in the eye and said, "I hope I'm going to get my reward." And she said, "Oh yes, you'll get your reward. Now go home. Go up to the well. You know the way." Jack went back to the well. Up the hill he went. And he knew what he had to do, but he wasn't quite as brave as his brother. So he looked down the well. He took a deep breath. He put his legs over the edge. And then he fell into the water. Down, 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 down he went. Down he went into the water and out into his own world. The land from which Jack had come was covered in shadow. It was dark, and his mother waited for him. She had seen the clouds come across the sky and the shadows fall upon the land. And as she waited and watched, her son Jack appeared from the well, just as Jan had done. And she knew that now there would be pearls. Now there would be pearls for both of them. But she said, "Where have you been?" And Jack said, "Don't talk to me." As he said, "Don't talk to me," from his lips fell snakes that slithered across the ground. "Where did they come from?" said his mother. "I don't know," said Jack. But he told her his story of how he met the beautiful woman on the horse and not the old woman, and his mother said, "It was the same person, you fool, and she's cursed you." For with every word that Jack said, snakes spewed from his mouth and slithered across the ground. And his mother knew that she would forever live with a son who spoke with words like snakes, words that were poisonous. And what of Jan? Jan left a home where his brother spoke with snakes, with poisonous words, and he went journeying to find a land where other people spoke pearls, spoke words that shone. And perhaps he's still walking today. So if Jan comes to your homeland, make sure that you speak words that are beautiful and shine like pearls with him, because then perhaps he'll stay with you and your people, and you will benefit from his words, words that shine